Welcome to VPG's Virtual Water Cooler Chat Podcast, a platform that features professionals across a variety of industries and promotes growth mindset principles with a central pillar of championing the achievements of women. Our conversations explore a wide spectrum of backgrounds, experiences, and perspectives, creating a vibrant mosaic that enriches our collective understanding and strengthens our commitment to growth and empowerment.
Today, Ashley is speaking with Rachel B. Lee, co-owner and CMO of StandOut Authority. A female founder, business owner, podcast host, mother, and stepmother, she helps leaders and organizations find their voice and be chosen without selling. Rachel began her career at Walton Isaacson, working on brands like Unilever's AXE and helping launch some of the earliest social-driven activations. And in 2016, she earned her MBA from the University of Texas at Austin McCombs School of Business, later bringing that strategic discipline into roles at Microsoft and Gartner. Featured in places like The Washington Post and Branding Magazine, Rachel has been a LinkedIn top voice since 2024. Let's get started.
Hi, Rachel. How are you doing?
Great. Thanks for having me, Ashley.
I've seen a lot of your content on LinkedIn and other parts of social media, you and your husband. So I thought that, well, it's about time. Welcome to Virtual Water Cooler Chat.
Let's do it.
Let's do it. The title of this episode is YOUmanize Your Brand. Why don't we start with your brand? Tell us how you humanize your brand.
So a little bit about myself. I guess I'm like almost 20 years into marketing. I have 2 degrees, undergrad and an MBA. Josh likes to say that I like school so much, I did it twice. For me, I've always had this learn mentality. I've always loved marketing because it's about understanding what is the business, what are the goals, and most importantly, who are we speaking to and how do we bring that value to that real human and individual. And prior to becoming a business owner and now founder, I was at Microsoft, I was at Gartner, I worked at a marketing agency called Walton Isaacson. And in those experiences, I learned what big brand strategy is in technology, what it means B2C versus B2B, having a more consumer brand versus tech brand, let's say, that's working with other businesses. And one thing in that journey that I realized is that everything's about people. It's never become more true than it is today in 2026, where we're now a couple years out of COVID, which really changed the landscape for marketing and hiring and just how we as humans connect with each other. And now we're in this age of AI, not to say that there hasn't been AI for a long time, but what's happened is AI is now democratized. Now we have this quick chat and we all think that we're experts in something. And so humanizing your brand, which YOUmanize is our new business that we founded in 2025. And we are developing a credibility intelligence platform, the first ever personal brand standard that's based off of measurable and quantitative signals that we see online about an individual. When it comes to humanizing your brand, it is about having a presence online that is authentic, that there's social proof, that it emotionally resonates with people. And most people, even in our green room before this, are pretty scared to put their full self out there, rightfully so. That's short a little bit about me, but also what humanizing your brand means to me.
That's fascinating. And having the standards in creating what you do and humanize this experience is so impressive. How did you get to who you are today? From a big company in marketing role into doing what you do now with your husband?
There's 2 parts of this question. There's this emotional unbecoming. One of my first articles I was like on Medium was around unbecoming. So there's that side of it as a stepmom and a mom and an employee turned entrepreneur, business owner, now founder. There's that piece. And then there's the actual fundamentals that brought me to where I am today. My journey, I wouldn't change any of it. I think that what's happening and what's going to continue to happen is that career trajectories are completely changing. And the way I created my career was by getting a great education. I was always very ambitious. I was student body president. I was on the varsity softball team. I was head of this, this, and that. I applied to 18 schools or something like that in high school. I've always been that person. I've always been that lady boss in some sense. And my thought was, keep going in your career. What does that mean? Okay, you're going to be maybe CMO of a company. You're going to be a VP, whatever, in an agency. Like that's the career path. I'm going to be employed by somebody else. I like marketing. I'm good at it. I'm good at business. I like the creative side. It was sort of this linear path. Many people experience this right now. There's this little feeling, this knowing in my tummy. You know how Glennon Doyle, she talks about the knowing in a couple of her books, capital K. Something was off for me. After my MBA, after I took a chance on love, actually, so I moved back to Austin for Josh to get engaged. We actually did distance for a year. I knew he had 2 kids. That was my first real decision on love over career. That started to change the trajectory of my life. I started to trust a little bit more of who I am and what I want out of my life over what the shoulds are. And that career path that I was still chasing started to feel less sexy. In 2020, when all of the craziness was unfolding with COVID, like many of us stuck at home, I wasn't even at Gartner that long. Everything we had to change about what we were doing, the programs we were putting together. And I think all of us were reevaluating ourselves too. How could you not in that time frame? I started working with my dear friend now, Julie Riesler. She is a board certified coach and intuitive and just an incredible human. It was another transformative moment where I had this knowing that something feels off. Here I am, great company, great boss. Still friends with my manager. She's a mentor for me. All of this, but I don't like it. And I'm like 6 months into the job, a year into the job. And so I started to realize, well, maybe I'm chasing something, what I think I should be doing when that's not really aligned with what my soul needs, which is I wanted to be able to express myself authentically. I love speaking. I love being able to mentor and train and share my knowledge. And I do it well. Not many people can communicate well. Communication is one of the most important skills and will continue to be like the top skills in a world where everything can be written by AI. I wasn't able to do that in the way that I wanted to when I was inside corporate. It was like my hands would get tied, or you can't do this. You're not approved. You're not a VP. And so Ashley, again, I started to follow these little hits of intuition and soul calling. And fortunately, my husband, Josh, 25 plus year veteran entrepreneur, YOUmanize, that we've now co-founded in 2025, is his 17th business. Along that journey, and at the time in 2021, he's just like, you're miserable. You're waking up, you're getting these Monday, Sunday scaries. It doesn't have to be that way. There are other paths. So with him and Julie, my coach, and just starting to follow this idea of like, what could it be to be actually living more purposefully and in my skills, but also my passions. I thought that I would leave corporate within like 3 years. As soon as I started to get more in sync with my internal compass, I gave my time into Gartner within 5 months. That was June 2021, and that uncorked a whole new journey for me. If it wasn't for any of that, we wouldn't be sitting here today. You wouldn't know Rachel as she is today. LinkedIn top voice, and sure, I have whatever, over 20,000 followers. If that matters to me, those are my family. Those are people that have chosen to be a part of what I'm creating. I wouldn't have been able to do all of that if I didn't start to unfold the person that I'm meant to be here on this short amount of time. And part of that, being a mom, first a stepmom. And if you're listening and you're a stepmom or a step parent, it's God's work. It's difficult. It's a labor of love. And then I went through IVF journey in the midst of that. So trying to get pregnant with now my Ava, these pieces really start to change and prioritize for you too, Ashley. What am I trying to do here? Do I really want to be some cog in a wheel? What is that authentic version of myself that I want to put out there? And in that flow state and in this trusting, by no means is it easy. There's so much uncertainty. YOUmanize came out of that idea. It was us thinking, and how do we move? And we're just continuing to follow these hits of not just intuition, but looking at where the market is going. The best entrepreneurs are ahead, always looking at what's next, because we know that it's our business, our life, a roof over our heads that isn't going to be there if we're not on top of it. That's part of the fun of it. It's also part of what freaking keeps you going.
Anxiety-induced business. Wow, that's so fascinating. I know you because I've watched one of the episodes that you had with Sasha Strauss on your podcast. And I was like, oh, that's really cool. That was a while back. I think you and I had connected 23, 24, something like that. I'm just really grateful. I've been watching and commenting whenever I can. So it was really cool when you and I reconnected on this and have you on this podcast. I really admire the candidness that you have on this because it's a very emotional journey. Like you said, if we weren't for following your intuition, you would not be here today, and I would not be here today because I was a patent litigation paralegal, case manager. I made a good enough income, but it's very demanding. Litigation is litigation. We have tight deadline when you have to go to trial, and sometimes you don't sleep that much. When people are stressed, it brings out the worst in people. So you just have to be cognizant of those. I never thought that I would come out and do my own business. And then 2017, my dad passed. He passed in like 4 hours-ish. He fell at a restaurant in the bathroom, and then we rushed him to the hospital, and he was gone in 4 hours. Because we actually had the decision to make, he would likely be in a coma. Do we do anything? So the family was actually there because we were having dim sum. In 4 hours, you have to make that decision. My mom was there. So we just basically said that we are going to let him go. Even though I'm not an attorney, he knows that I'm the best person that he would talk to. So we've talked about a lot of things like will, trust, and everything before that. And it was actually 1 month before that we've talked about it. It was just really weird in terms of timing. We had to make a really quick decision. And after that, all those decisions are super hard to talk about. And I also have the role of taking care of my mom. My mom doesn't drive. She just turned 80 years old. So she's very healthy for the most part. Reverse parenting is really tough because they are grown enough that they don't listen to you. I'm very lucky that she and I travel a lot and things like that. But for 2 years after my dad passed, I avoided all emotions. So I just worked so hard until I felt like I was burned out. I did not ever get medically declared that I was burned out, but when I didn't want to go to work and I was a workaholic, that is a really good sign. And I also was concerned about my health, witnessing how fast and fragile life can be. And then early 2019, I was like, I don't think that I can do this anymore. But I also have been working at other law firms. Do I want to go in-house? I have a lot of self-talk, and a lot of it is very anxiety-induced because I still have to make payment. I talked to a friend. This is Women's History Month, so thank God for women who support each other, like yourself right now.
Amen.
And I talked to my friend, and she wasn't a friend then. Someone actually recommended that I talk to her, and I told her, this is what I'm going through, and I was wondering if you have any suggestions. Someone said that you started a consulting company to support attorneys. Can you tell me a little bit more? And she did. It took me 8 months to get all my finance and everything together. I can be very risk averse, especially when I was working for someone else. You do what people tell you to do. There's not a whole lot of creativity there. You might have a great idea, but someone might take it as their own, or a lot of those corporate politics. And it's not only with one company. It's just kind of how the culture is. I didn't know what came over me. I just decided that, you know what? I'm just gonna do this. Plan 8 months and figure out exactly what's going to happen. So I plan with my financial advisor every 2 months. She was like, are you still going to go through with this? I'm like, yes, I am. So December, I put in my resignation. Nobody believed that I would do it. Because I was such a good follower. I listened to everything people said, and I don't ever say no, such a people pleaser. It's like, what? You're going to do what? I don't know whether this is culture, but I had amazing mentors along the way. One of them is actually a rainmaker at a construction litigation firm, and we're still friends. And I remember I was having lunch with him. He was like, so what are you going to tell them when you are leaving? I said, I will tell them that I haven't figured it out yet. He goes like, Ashley, anyone who knows you will know that that's not the truth. But the problem is that I was afraid. What would they think? Whether the decision will be accepted? So there's a lot of such negative self-talk. Can you talk a little bit about that in light of Women's History Month and you're such a lady boss? Nowadays, I trust myself so much more, but that journey getting here was not easy. It takes getting used to accepting rejections as part of life and looking at it as something that leads you to a greater path. So what does Lady Boss want to talk about that?
You're alluding a little bit, I think, to the imposter syndrome, negative self-talk. Women, our brains just function very differently than men. There's science behind this. I ask Josh constantly, it's like we're watching TV and he's out. He's not thinking about something. And in my brain, in our brain, you're going through the checklist, what's happening tomorrow, is the lunch made, There's always this running thing. So there's certainly a biological and neurological piece of a female brain that we all just get to realize and love. That's also why we are so capable and can do so many things to our demise also, which is why women are more burnt out than ever before. Childcare costs are astronomical. Many women are not in the workforce. I forgot the exact percentage, but many have chosen to leave the workforce, whether it's for entrepreneurship or because they need to do caretaking. Most women are doing the caretaking of their family or their parents. So all that can be true. And if we're in this cycle of this is hard and I'm burning out and really suffering, I now know I didn't pick that up for a while because I would ignore my body. But our body is the most powerful signaler. The stress headaches, the not sleeping at night, the fire in the chest for me when I'm feeling very anxious, I literally can feel it in here. I too have burned out, and frankly, right now I'm pushing through. We've had a really tough 2 years from severe mental health challenges with my stepchildren, raising a toddler, and building a new business while trying to keep one going as the market shifts. It's a lot. It's very stressful. Trusting your intuition and your internal compass is a muscle. It's actually something you need to train yourself on. It's a lot of unprogramming. It's a lot of listening to my body. There's so many different readings on this, but it's like exactly when you're feeling, should I do this? Am I scared? Whatever. You did it for 8 months. You prepped. You worked with a financial advisor. All of this stuff. You're burned out. Like it couldn't be clearer if you look back. And then still in that moment, you're like, did I make the right decision? All these people are telling me da 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 da. There's human nature that's part of that, but there's also just like we have to continue to take these riskier decisions as a way to build that muscle and to lead us towards the journey we're meant for. And that's different for every single person. I would not recommend entrepreneurship, consulting, all this stuff for everybody. For many people, you will literally freak yourself out to such an extent that it won't be healthy. It is better for you to be in a job. You'd rather just have a job and get that 401k and have the health insurance, have the stability. And you know what? I'm jealous. That's awesome. I miss that part. I miss the stable check. I miss the great healthcare, especially how bad our healthcare is today. Mm-hmm. But I've trained myself enough to know that I would rather take a risk and feel like I'm doing something that matters for me than to go back to what I was. The risk versus reward. And so, Ashley, I know we mentioned Women's History Month, all these things. We have to constantly be working on ourselves.
We have to adopt their growth mindset. But also, I think we have to learn to trust ourselves more. And
of course. And people need to stop doubting us.
The system,
the social media, all the things. There's so much fear mongering. There's just so much chatter. You turn on the news, we have war, we have this, we have kidnappings, we have shootings down the street here. There's just so much that can take away from a clean mindset to help us make strong decisions. So like I said, it's a muscle and it's a practice. I have my oracle cards. I have meditations. I take baths. I do different things. If my body is in a hyperactive state, it makes other decisions really, really tough.
Can we talk a little bit about StandOut Authority, you and your husband's company? How do you protect the relationship while also setting boundaries?
We do that. We set boundaries.
I wasn't good at it before, so getting any tips will be great.
Yeah. We not only are life partners, we're business partners, and we're parents. We're now in our 6th year of doing this coming up. The plus side is that this whole work-life balance, which I hope nobody ever talks about work-life balance ever again. It's not a thing. There's no balance. There's integration. There's sometimes where it's like very off balance. Last year was a very off balance year. Josh had to be 150% dad because of what was going on with Jaden and Skylar. And I too was putting in, I would call it 90%. And so there are times in that moment where it's like, well, our responsibility is the children and our family first and foremost. And so the great part about being husband and wife is that we understand what's going on in the business so well and the family that when we're in a crisis mode, which we have been in, I knew that Josh needed to do what he needed to do, and I need to step up in other ways. So there's that good part of it all. In the beginning, I would call it the first 2 years of working together was just egos. And unlike a lot of couples that work together, where one person is more of the, let's call it CEO, person out there, visionary, whatever, and then maybe one person's more on the ops side, like two very different skill sets. I'm more operational than Josh for sure, but I don't want to be behind the scenes. I want to be speaking on stages. I'm a strategist and creative and all these things. And Josh is that too. And so we've had to find our balance in that sense of who's leading what message, who's taking this audience, this route versus Rachel's doing this. And also just having the right team in place for us. The less that I'm telling Josh what to do and like operational, the better, because that doesn't do very well for our relationship. I need another person to be like, Josh, these are the things that we need for the business. We have figured it out, and YOUmanize wouldn't have been created, which we believe is something so original, if we weren't together, working our magic together. So you take the positive and negative with everything.
Wonderful. You are such a great communicator. I, again, watch a lot of YouTube videos of you on different podcasts. And one of them, I think you're presenting to a younger audience, maybe in a university setting, and you were talking to them that you need to develop your personal branding. But there are a lot of people not comfortable putting themselves out there and doesn't believe in personal branding. You are an expert in this space. What would you say to people that it's like, I don't need any personal branding?
I would say, okay, well, what's your career? How are you getting a job? How are people hiring you? And what are they going to answer with those? Whether you're trying to get employed or you're trying to get clients. Everybody has some career journey. We all need a way to make money. Okay, so you're going to need to do one of those two things, or you're going to hire talent, but you're still employed at that part. Okay, well, how are you going to do that? You're going to go call people up? You're going to go take the yellow pages out? Nobody knows what the freaking yellow
Nobody wants the yellow pages anymore.
Nobody knows what that is. Go ask my Gen Z. They're like, what? Yellow pages? You mean like the sticky notes? They don't even know what a sticky note is. Okay. What are you going to use, a typewriter? The reality is in 2026, although this has been the reality for at least 5 years, is that people are looking you up online, whether you like it or not. I'm very impressed, Ashley, at how much you did research before this interview. You went back to a Longhorn presentation I did for Free Speech Week at UT, which is probably 4 or 5 years old, which is crazy. That's just what's happening. And now it's not just like going onto Google and searching up Rachel B. Lee. It's actually going into ChatGPT or going into Gemini and saying, hey, I'm looking for whatever expert in this field, or I'm looking for a personal brand expert that understands how to work with corporate executives. Help me find this person. Let's just say, are you going to show up? Is your business going to show up?
And also, how will you show up?
How will you show up? That's great. And it's pretty astounding. If you're listening today, go do that. Go look yourself up on Google Chrome. Tell me what pops up. One of the first things that's going to come up with my name, it's going to be my LinkedIn profile, which is why we put such a heavy focus on LinkedIn, because LinkedIn is super optimized for the LLMs and for SEO. Doing a great job on LinkedIn, from profile, content, everything, you're feeding search. I could go on and on. You talked about growth mindset, fixed mindset. You're just not going to have a career. And in fact, we're working with several business owners, entrepreneurs that are in that last chapter of their career journey, 60s and 70s, and they're trying to figure this out for themselves because they haven't been putting any focus. Everything was referrals. They were the it person and wherever, Silicon Valley, to do XYZ, and then all of their contacts retired or left other companies. And then guess what? Their businesses dried up.
Well, I have to say that early on, I took a Simon Sinek webinar where Sasha was teaching maybe about 5 years ago. It wasn't even about personal branding. It was on marketing, because I was like, oh, I need to learn about marketing. I don't know anything about this. I didn't have to market myself much because attorneys would come to me and I'll be staff on cases. So I was a really, really good worker. At the end of the presentation, I thanked Sasha, but he was peeking into the different breakout room. He was like, Ashley, I like what you said, but I am going to correct you on your language. Very classic Sasha Strauss. He basically like, we can't believe in you unless we hear you believe in yourself. And I was not believing in myself. And it shows. I was okay hiding for a long time because I'll get my paycheck. I just have to get my work done. I work more hours and it'll be fine. But when I come out and do this thing called entrepreneurship, I was okay to be just in the basement, do my thing. My aspiration was not very high. I have a good quality of life, support a few clients, go on vacation. That's my aspiration. Podcasting was not one of the things on my list. Sasha was like, you should do Toastmaster. So So I keep trying to look for local chapters that I could do it, but I didn't have anyone that is consistent. And sometimes people did not respond to me at the time. So I was talking to someone from my team who helped me handle events. And I was like, how hard is it to have a podcast? Because I think I need to practice my conversational skills. And also I need to be comfortable. I own a business. I need to be out there pitching.
Yeah.
Have good communication skills. Now, I'm not anywhere near yours yet, but I really like the conversational and how approachable you were, especially with that young group of students. I remember you were 8 months pregnant, maybe? You were walking around and you were talking to the people and they were so engaging. So that's what I really was like, early on I kind of suck, but at some point I will improve. So that's how the podcast gets started. And this is year 4. Now I do have a team to help me because it is so much work. I literally just do the recording and then I have a team of different generations and I really love to see how they are comfortable talking to me. I'm a Gen Xer. So early on I was like, my God, responsiveness, please, responsiveness. Why don't you guys follow up? Then at some point I made some adjustments and I actually really enjoy working with many of them. I'm very candid with them. Like, why did you say this? I'm just very truthful to them. And sometimes I worry, are they going to ghost me after this? And some did, but others didn't. It was really quite amazing to be able to start a company, you and Josh as well, and be able to make a difference and also feel fulfilled at the same time. Because I think fulfillment was never in my vocabulary before. Like, I need to pay my bills. That's where it is. I really took a chance on myself and on my team and had a lot of people that support me along the way. I had a lot of people that did not. But it's okay. You figuring out who are your audience and your community and you adjust that way.
That's it. That's what we do. Got to find your people in this journey, man.
Yep, exactly. What is the biggest misconception people have about social selling and thought leadership to close?
I think that people think they're selling and thought leadership too. If you look at a thought leadership strategy at a corporate or organizational level, it's a lot of research driven. Let's take XYZ report, a big study that we put together and then put a report on it and then get it out to our specific audience. And we're a thought leader in this area of expertise. And what it all ends up feeling like is you're trying to drive a sale and people don't want to be sold to. That's always been the case. It's shifted in that maximum feeling of being sold to in this world of overconsumption of content and just AI in general is just making the people's radar super high. Even in DMing people, just reaching out for a couple of things, people that are first degree connections, they're like, oh, this message is AI or whatever. And I'm like, no, it's not. I wrote this message. My assistant helps me. But like people have no threshold anymore. The bullshit meter is so high. And so we can't sell to people in the way that we used to. You cannot do DMs in the way you used to. You cannot write content the way you used to. Emails, the relationship building and trust building is a much longer process. I think that people go about it very wrong. And this is why we believe so strongly in the personal brand. I've done all kinds of marketing and company branding. I believe that the strongest marketing you could do today is the people behind the business, the voices, because that's what people trust. People trust other humans. They want to know who they're working with. And because the buying cycle is so long, we're talking 6 months to a year minimum for somebody to want to work with you, especially if it's a higher value item. I'm talking $5, $10, $50, $100,000 deals. They're going to take a while. You cannot be like, hey, so-and-so, we just connected, want to get on a call. It's like, are you freaking kidding me? No, I don't have time. I don't know you. We just connected. So people are just really going about it wrong. There's a lot of automation tools that have really killed that too. You know, people are so used to on LinkedIn, the spammy messages, hey, Rachel B, you need help with your content and branding. And you're like, dude, why are you reaching out to me about this? I test it out all the time. I accept the message. I'm like, this might not be spammy. And then get the next message. I don't respond. Then get the next message. And I'm like, okay, so now you have your sequence on. That's 3 times you've messaged me with no response or reaction. This is what social selling, which was the way to talk about it, let's call it like 5+ years ago. In corporate, it's still In the reality, it's not social and it's not selling, it's connecting. This is how we connect with people. And we are doing a lot of it digitally. And so we have to do it a lot smarter.
Yeah, I mean, our attention span is getting shorter and shorter. Social media does not really help because sometimes you cannot tell whether it's real news or fake news. I had Verizon, for example, send me some messages saying, "Are you moving?" I'm like, "Not moving. What are you talking about?" It's like, "We're going to cut off your service on March 2nd. I'm like, "What are you talking about?" So I had to waste time and call them, but I didn't know whether this is a fake email. It's such a challenging time that we live in, and having a good community and people that support each other, I definitely will let people know about YOUmanize and StandOut Authority. Obviously, you are LinkedIn top voice, so people can actually search you on Google, on LinkedIn. But
They can search you too.
how else can people reach out to you?
The best way is going to be on LinkedIn, connecting with me. Say that you listen to this podcast. Of course, you can go on standoutauthority.com. YOUmanize.ai is about to launch.
Ooh, that's exciting.
That will be in the next couple weeks here. Certainly, you could always find me on LinkedIn and DM me, and then I can take it from there.
When you do a post on the YOUmanize.ai launching, I will amplify and reposting and let people know about it.
I appreciate that. We're kind of beta testing now, and I would say in the next couple weeks, we'll have a bigger announcement. So it's exciting.
That's awesome. Thank you so much, Rachel. I really appreciate this, and happy Women's History Month.
Thank you. You too. Thanks for having me.